Hi Beatle people, welcome back to A Beautiful Life. So as you know, today Paul McCartney announced his new album, The Boys of Dungeon Lane. So this video will kind of just be a chat video about that announcement. I will talk about what we know about the album so far and all of the different hints and clues that led up to the album announcement as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So yes, the album was of course announced this morning, but before that happened, the first single, Days We Left Behind, actually had its world premiere on BBC Radio Merseyside. Given the album's ties to Paul's childhood in Liverpool, he wanted the Liverpool residents to be the first to hear the song. But of course, anyone could tune in on the radio station's website as well, which is what I did. So I first heard the song through that. And I think that song is very beautiful. It reminds me of one of my favorite tracks from Paul's album New, which is Early Days. But it seems, and I'll get into what the website says about the album, but it seems based on that song, we can't really assume what the whole album will be like. What his website says is that the album is musically eclectic and sees Paul across an array of instruments and styles, showcasing his broad musicality. There's Wings-style rock, Beatles-style harmonies, McCartney-style grooves, understated intimacy, melody-driven storytelling, and character songs. So I'm very excited to hear all the variety on this album. So I'll get into a little more of this article. If you want to read the whole thing, it's on Paul's website under his news section. So this album was in the works for quite some time. It says that The Boys of Dungeon Lane was first brought into existence 5 years ago when Paul met producer Andrew Watt for a cup of tea and an exchange of ideas. While playing around on the guitar during the meeting, Paul happened upon a chord that even he didn't recognize. Undeterred and driven by his experimental nature, Paul carried on changing one note, then another, until he had a 3-chord sequence, which Watt suggested that they should record. So I'll paraphrase this a little bit, so I'm not just dictating the entire article to you, but it says that session resulted in the opening track of the album, and in that session, Paul was playing the majority of the instruments, and that is something that continued on through the rest of the recording. And the recording sessions, by the way, seem to have spanned over a whole 5-year period. Paul was, as I just said, was playing the majority of the instruments, so it turns out that the album is solely credited to Paul. So it says that the album, while it has its memory-based songs, it also has some present-day love songs as well, and includes some memories that were never before shared. As far as Days We Left Behind, it says that is a song that captures the emotional core of the project. So it makes sense that they released that first, because this album is mainly looking back on Paul's pre-fame days. And there is a lyric video for Days We Left Behind on Paul's YouTube channel if you haven't seen that yet, but by this point you probably have seen it. So next I want to get into all the hints and clues that popped up leading up to the album announcement, because it's always fun to kind of play detective and piece everything together. So the very first thing that people noticed was that a little bird emoji had appeared in Paul's bio on his social media. And that reminded me of right before when McCartney 3 was announced. They had put a little dice emoji, or a die, I guess, in his bio as well. So that made me think right away, like, ooh, what's happening? So the bird hints continued after that, and we saw that the Sticking Out of My Back Pocket playlist was updated to have a bird watching theme. It showed that same bird emoji. I don't know if that emoji is a blackbird or a raven or a crow. I'm not sure. It was also noticed at that time that almost all of Paul's Got Back posters for 2025 contained birds to some degree. Birds or other things with wings like butterflies or airplanes. So we began to wonder, what do all these bird things mean? And I thought for certain that the album was going to have a bird-related title. The bird clues then continued when Paul's social media put a little prompt to text him, which is, of course, an automated number. It's the one he's had in his bio since, I think, 2019 is when he started using that. But if you texted bird watching to that number, it gave you a reply of some quotes from Paul about his habit of bird watching and how birds can turn into symbolic characters in his songs. This is why I really thought there was going to be a bird theme. I'm sure when we see all the song lyrics, there will be some birds included. So then after that, it was noticed that some posters started to pop up in cities like Liverpool, New York City, and I think maybe Los Angeles as well, that said on them what we now know is the album title, The Boys of Dungeon Lane, with that same logo. And actually, Paul's brother ended up on his Twitter page kind of somewhat spoiling it by saying that it was for Paul's new album. I don't think we were supposed to know that yet. Like, I think there was meant to be more detective work involved. So I thought maybe people would come across the posters and wonder, what does that mean? And Google it, because there is a website, theboysofdungeonlane.com, that will display that logo, and it has a little bird emoji as the website icon. Then after that, it really started to become more official because Paul's number texted out a link to Google Maps, which showed the actual location of the actual Dungeon Lane in Liverpool. And there was, if you turned around, like looked around within the map, the street view thing, you could see a young boy, presumably dressed as a young Paul, carrying a sign with the album title on it. So we definitely began to feel like the announcement was imminent at that point. So then just this morning, and let me know if you know of anyone else who received one of these. I saw that a fan on Instagram had received a postcard from MPL with the lyrics to Days We Left Behind on it. That's the only person I've seen so far who got one of those, but let me know if you know of any others. But then yes, this morning we had the radio premiere and the official album announcement. And I made a little dance party reel to celebrate the album announcement as well. You could look at that in my YouTube Shorts tab. So yes, the album has 14 tracks. I'll put those on the screen, and I'm very, like I said, very excited to see what kind of eclecticness they are talking about. And as far as the vinyl versions of the album, there are lots of variants that are already available for pre-order. I've seen a light pink one, a red one, a gold one. I personally got the green version from his online store just because I liked that it came with a lyric card, and it's a store exclusive. So as we know, Paul has his 2 shows in LA tomorrow and Saturday. It's a phone-free show, so we won't see any videos, but I'm curious to read people's reports of what he played, and if he played Days We Left Behind or another new song that's going to be premiered just for those 2 shows. We'll see. I was not lucky enough to get tickets to see Paul in LA. It seems the invitation emails were being sent to people in that area. But tomorrow will still be a night of Paul music for me because I'm going to see the Paul tribute by Tony Kishman, Live and Let Die. I've seen that several times throughout the years. It's a great show, so it'll still be a fun night. But yes, that is going to wrap up today's chat about the Boys of Dungeon Lane. Let me know your thoughts on the new song in the comments. But I do want to say thank you very much for watching, and my other social media accounts will be linked below as always. I'm very active on Facebook and Instagram if you want to check those out in particular. But again, thank you very much for watching today's video, and as always, have a beautiful day, everybody. Bye-bye.